If you appreciate our content, please click the thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel. That will really help us to reach more people. Thank you.
It is good to be back with you all after vacation. And last week, I kind of allowed myself to ease into the service and to listen to Brian share his message with us. Brian spoke to us about how to go to church without believing in God. When he came to me, I think I shared this last week when I introduced him. When he came to me about a year ago and said, I want to do this talk, I go, what a cool title. I want to hear about that. And as I listened to him last week, I realized he was talking about his own experience, but he touched on so many of our experiences. For each of us has experiences of growing up with different ideas of what religion and what reality we exist in. And certainly here at Unity, we do not hold with the old traditional concepts of an angry, vengeful, anthropomorphic God that's just waiting to judge us and condemn us to hell or maybe let us into heaven. We do not hold to the religion that evolved after the life of Jesus, which traditional Christianity was not created by Jesus. Don't throw anything at me. Jesus was Jewish. Jesus had his spirituality, which he shared with everybody and said, look, these teachings are universal. These teachings are not bound within the box of a religion. And then a couple hundred years later, they created a religion around it. So we don't hold with that, we don't focus on that, but we recognize that we are a Western culture, and our entire culture here in the West is immersed in Christianity. And we do recognize Jesus and honor Jesus as our teacher and our way shower, rather than the founder of a religion built around the persona of a mystic. Charles Fillmore said, unity is the religion of Jesus rather than the religion about Jesus. He went on to say, unity is about positive, practical spirituality and how to apply spiritual principles that Jesus taught in our daily lives. And that's what we've been doing over the course of this year, if you think about it. Over the summer, we had our 12 Powers series, based on the messages contained within different movies that kind of point the direction to us, to powers we can use to develop our spirituality, to grow and to evolve. And then Brian shared with us ideas of what that is to us personally. Because yes, we are all in unity, but we all have our own individual understanding of Spirit and how we relate to Spirit and how we embody Spirit. So now we move into taking a look at what we believe right here at Unity Spiritual Center, Albuquerque, through the lens of our mission, vision, and values. And if you want to glance at it during the service, they're right up there on the wall. Today we will be focusing on our mission statement. And one of the things I have found over the years when we do this kind of stuff, focusing on mission, vision, and values, is we reach a point where we go, oh, maybe that mission statement no longer serves us. Maybe we have grown beyond it. And indeed, that is the idea of mission and vision statements. Our core principles don't change, but we change. We grow, we evolve. Or maybe we'll look and say, no, that's perfect the way it is. It's okay either way. So we'll see where this series takes us, what this series leads to. Because we are evolutionary. We are meant to evolve and grow and change. And sometimes we keep the best of what we have done before. Often, well, really, we should always keep the best of what we have done before and then build on that. So let's dive into this a little bit more and understand, before we get into the mission statement itself, just what we believe in unity is generally. We believe that, as I said, Jesus was our teacher and our way shower, and his teaching was not, you are a sinner, you're going to go to hell, and all of that kind of stuff. His teaching was, you are the light of the world. You are created in the image and likeness of God. Actually, he didn't say image, he said likeness. And that's important because what is the likeness of God? Anybody? Anything. That's too easy. Come on. Love, abundance, health, wholeness, life. All of those things, that's the image, that's the likeness we have. And, peace, yeah. Okay, all right, we got to move on now. You guys are too good. All of those things that are right and true. We are the light of the world. We are also co-creators of our world. We create our world. Now, we did not create the planet, although we are definitely impacting it. We did not create the universe or anything like that, but we are creative. We have the ability to create. God imbued us with that. And we can either create from mind, from human mind and ego, or we can create from spirit. When we create mind and ego, we create a miss, which creates a mess, as we have seen through most of human history. But when we tune within, when we seek understanding, when we seek that divine connection with God, with spirit, with divine mind, we create a more perfect world. That was the essence of Jesus' teaching. You are a co-creator with God. And you choose what you're going to create. When we are in alignment with God, alignment with Spirit, allowing it to flow through us and create from that place of understanding, we create a world that is beautiful and perfect and true, like in the song we sang. So how do we do that? How do we put these principles that Jesus brought to us into practice? How do we, as they say so often, follow him? And follow him doesn't mean you wear sandals and, do all that stuff. It means to live like he lived, to think like he thought, to do the kinds of things he did. So how do we do it? Well, we do it by studying, by learning, by educating ourselves. We do it by supporting one another on our spiritual paths, creating a community of like-minded people. That's why this coming to church is so important. It's not because we have to have so many people in the seats. It's not because, it's a numbers game or anything. It's because in this community, this physical community, and those of you online, in this place, we nurture each other. We support one another on our spiritual path. And more than that, we inspire each other. You get to listen to me flap my gums up here for about 20, 25 minutes on a Sunday morning. Can't go real deep in that length of time. But there's magic that happens back there after service and other times during the week. When we're sitting together having coffee and food and breaking bread, we inspire each other. We bounce ideas off of each other. We support each other in our growth. That's what an authentic spiritual community does. It's not just about the Sunday service. In fact, I would say that that's a very small part of it. And we'll get more into why that is in a few minutes. So the tools we use to do this are our mission, our vision, and our values. So our mission statement is, we inspire spiritual growth through honoring many paths, education, prayer, sacred service, and abundant living. Now, we say that every single Sunday. It's on our website. It's on our Facebook page. It's on our literature. But how often do we really think about it? How many of you, if I was to knock on your door tomorrow and say, what's our mission statement? Could say it. I'll be honest with you. I would have to stop and think a minute. Because we're in the habit of doing it on Sunday morning. But do we practice it on a daily basis? For at the heart of our mission statement, and every mission statement we have ever had and probably ever will have, there's a powerful, transformative statement. And ours starts with this: to inspire spiritual growth. I want you to listen to that carefully. Inspire spiritual growth. Not say, you have to do this to grow spiritually, and you have to do it just this way. We inspire you to walk your path, to discern your purpose, to seek your own understanding. It's not confined to one particular vision of how life should be, but instead opens the doors wide to many different paths and many different understandings. We embrace diversity in this way through spiritual practice, thought, and expression. I talk to people all the time, and they say, well, do you embrace diversity? Usually meaning race or religion or gender identity or sexual orientation or anything like that. But it goes deeper than that. It can be diversity in spiritual practice, diversity in thought, diversity in expression. And we approach that through our 5 foundational pillars: honoring many paths, sacred service, education, prayer, and abundant living. 5 pillars. That's how we practice it. And together, these pillars or elements create a holistic framework that fosters personal transformation. And when we transform personally, we empower those around us to transform. The world is not going to be healed. Peace is not going to be come by somebody or some organization or some government saying, do this or else. It is going to be transformed and healed through our own personal work, each and every one of us individually. We make spiritual growth not just a possibility, but an inevitable outcome of a life lived with intention, with openness, and with love. So let's explore these pillars. Let's go deeper into them and how we can use them in our daily lives. The first one is honoring many paths. That doesn't just mean people of other religions. It means us too. I've walked many different spiritual paths in my life because I have found that I've walked a path for a while and it changed. My understanding changed. And I found a different path that would take me in a direction that led to greater awareness, greater awakening, greater fulfillment. There are many paths. Jesus never said, you have to practice my religion. How many of us are Jewish? That was his religion. It was not his spirituality. He said, if you practice my spirituality, you will have life and have it abundantly. Yes. So we honor many paths. We have the symbols of the world's religions on our altar and on our flag there, because there's many ways to find God, but it's all one. It's all one path, just many different subpaths. We believe no one path could ever encompass the fullness of the divine. And as such, we honor all spiritual paths. And whether one finds their connection through Christianity or Judaism or Buddhism or Islam or indigenous traditions or other spiritual practice, we hold space for each one of those with sacred reverence and respect. In his book, Unity minister Richard Lynch wrote, "Unity's maps are vistas of truth, in which divine intelligence incarnated as Buddha merges with the mystic Tao of Confucius, in which a stern Jehovah of the ancient Hebrew prophets blends with the tender fatherhood that Jesus taught." And the great Unity minister Eric Butterworth wrote, "Unity today is dedicated to the open mind, to the continuous quest for truth. It seeks not to tell you what to think. It tells you how to think, how to define God, what creeds to accept. Unity does none of that. Unity seeks only to teach you how to think, how to pray, so that you may formulate your own definition of God, experience your own communion with God, and find your own distinctly personal revelation of truth." So where does that put Jesus? We consider Jesus our teacher and our way shower. We focus largely on his teachings, while we also understand that there is value from other teachers and other paths. And we do that again, as I said at the beginning, because we are a Western people. Our overall culture is from a more Christian tradition. And whether we grow up in that tradition or not, we're at least aware of some of the basic tenets of it. But unity seeks to understand what it was Jesus taught rather than who Jesus was. It's important. So I get asked quite often from other ministers and other people, is unity a Christian denomination? And nowadays I have to answer, I don't know. I don't know. Because we recognize and honor Jesus as our teacher and way shower. And we strive to live the life he modeled. But if you look up the definition of Christianity, it is you have to accept that you are born in sin. You have to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior and acknowledge that he died for your sins to appease an angry God. And also, let's face it, Christianity in our country anyway has become very political. So are we a Christian denomination? Well, we follow the teachings of the Christ. We don't follow the dogma of postmodern Christianity. We do not believe in original sin. That was not even in the teachings until the 4th century. And it was not until the 12th century that it became canon. We don't believe in eternal damnation. Let me assure you, if you want to go to hell, you can do it right here and right now. We do it. We can create our own heaven or our own hell right in this moment. And we certainly don't get into the politics that are going on in Christianity today. It's an interesting discussion we are having in the world, in our culture, and even among us unity ministers, is how do we identify ourselves in this postmodern world? However, honoring many paths allows us to transcend our dogma and exclusivity and instead embrace diversity and inclusivity. This openness encourages us to explore spiritual truths as seen through many different lenses. Because when I can see spiritual truth through a Buddhist lens or a Jewish lens or a traditional Christian lens or a unity lens, I begin to see the whole picture. I began to see the wholeness and the beauty of it. And I am able to better relate to my fellow travelers, which is every human being. We foster an environment where curiosity is encouraged and spiritual exploration is celebrated, which leads us to be able to have dialogue with people of other faiths, to have mutual understanding and compassion for other beliefs, and create a world where differences are seen as strengths rather than as sources of division. So in other words, honoring many paths means incorporating the teachings from the various traditions into our services, our classes, our community, our gathering, and offering different modalities of prayer and meditation. There are many different ways to pray. There are many different ways to meditate. Michael led the meditation today. His is a little different from the way I do it. Everybody has their way that works for them, and every way is valuable. And prayer. There are as many ways to pray as there are human beings on earth. In unity, we generally practice affirmative prayer, but that can take many different forms. Kirtan, which we do on the 4th Friday? Last Friday of the month, is a prayer. It's not just getting together and singing or a performance. It's a prayer. It's a worship. It's a tuning within and connecting, getting out of our heads and into our hearts. So what about education? Our next pillar. Education is one of the most important things we do. Charles Fillmore wrote 100 years ago, "Unity is a link in the great educational movement inaugurated by Jesus the Christ." Another way it's translated from what he wrote is it's a continuation. But either way, think about that. A link. I like that. It means it's not the beginning, it's not the end, it's a link in the continuing teachings of Jesus, the continuing evolution of understanding. It binds the present with the past and has the opportunity for the future. It's not the end, it's not dogma, it's not an ancient tradition or religion. It's a continuation. Education is a is a critical pillar of our framework. It equips us with the knowledge and the tools necessary to deepen our own individual understanding. Through education, we open our minds to new perspectives, to challenging our limiting beliefs, and we all have them, even still, to expand our awareness of spiritual principles. But our commitment goes beyond intellectual knowledge. It's about cultivating wisdom and applying spiritual truths in our daily life. As our core values say, or our core unity values nationwide or worldwide say, it's not just enough to know these things. We have to use them. We have to put them into application. So it's about cultivating wisdom and applying it. And here in our community in Albuquerque, education comes in many forms, including classes. You just at the beginning of the other day, yesterday I guess, got an e-blast. If you didn't get it, let me know. We'll get it to you of all the new classes we have coming up. Michael's going to be teaching a class. I'm going to be teaching a class. Reverend Gio's going to be teaching classes. We have other classes that some of you will be teaching that are coming up. We have book studies. We have guest speakers. All of these are designed to share diverse insights from various personal understandings, which allow us to find our own understanding. Our own understanding of metaphysical truths, principles, personal transformation, and universal law. And we encourage that education never stop. That we're always learning, we're always growing, we're always evolving. Because it's not a one-time event. It's a continuous journey of discovery. Nor is Sunday morning the heart of our spiritual path. As I said at the beginning, the education is where we go deep. The classes are where we go deep. The workshops are where we go deep. Your own study is where you go deep. And those times when we gather together and learn from one another how to apply these principles, how to use them, and how to uncover our own innate divinity. So our next step is prayer. Prayer is the heart of what we do. It's the cornerstone of our spiritual practice. Prayer connects us directly to divine mind or God or spirit, whatever you choose to call it. It is both a personal and a communal experience. It's a dialogue with the infinite that nourishes our soul and brings peace to our hearts, but also creates a receptacle to receive truth and divine ideas. When we are in prayer, and especially when we go into the silence, that is where we create space for spirit to speak to us. Prayer is a tool for transformation, to healing, to manifestation. And it's not about convincing an anthropomorphic God to do us a favor, grant us a boon, come down and fix something. It's about putting our consciousness into alignment with what is already true in God mind. You want peace in the world? We got to be at peace. Like we sing in our peace song at the end of service, let there be peace on earth and let it begin where? With me. Yeah, you better know that one. If we want abundance for everybody in the world, we got to get into that consciousness of universe is unlimited in its supply. There is enough food, enough shelter, enough housing, enough everything that is needed for every human being on earth. When we get into that consciousness, we can begin to shift the availability of that. At the same time, we honor the diverse ways in which people pray, whether it's through silent meditation, the spoken word, affirmative prayer, or contemplative practices. We create and hold space for all of those. And finally, sacred service. Sacred service is the embodiment of love in action. I want you to sit with that for a second. Sacred service is the embodiment of love in action. It is through sacred service that we put our spiritual principles into practice. Serving others with compassion, with humility, with a deep sense of interconnectedness is part of our spiritual growth. It's not enough to just know these things. You have to do them. You have to use them. And one of the highest ways we can use those is through service. Because when we serve, we recognize the divine presence in all beings. And we offer our time, our talents, our resources in the spirit of love and generosity. And sacred service transcends transactional acts. It's a soul-to-soul connection where the giver and the receiver both experience the flow of divine love. Through service, we realize that we are part of something greater than ourselves, and our actions contribute to the upliftment of the whole of the world. You know, right here in our spiritual community, there are countless opportunities to be in sacred service. We have people who make sure that we're able to sit and break bread together. We have people who perform our music and provide us with those beautiful sounds and prayer, and make sure that our message is, you can hear me and our messages go out to our friends on Facebook and out in the virtual world. We have our ushers. We have so many people that make this happen, and so many other opportunities. And today we'll be honoring Amanda Replogle, who has served us from her heart for so many years, taking care of our children and teaching our children and keeping our children's program alive through a pandemic and everything else. So we provide a variety of ways to give back. And sacred service also allows us to give outside of our community, to build relationships with people we may not ever know otherwise, to express our spiritual gifts, and if we're doing it right, to empower them to find their own spiritual gifts. We create a ripple effect of positive energy, extending love, compassion, and support to everyone out there, which leads to abundant living. I have often said, for those of you who are new here, that Jesus' mission statement was, and you can say it with me, those of you who know it, I have come that you may have life and have it abundantly. Now, in the West, we have a materialistic connotation with that word abundance. But what Jesus was saying is, we have abundant life. We have abundant health. We have abundant resources. Abundant living is a natural outcome of a spiritual life. It's not something we go and get. It's not something we have to buy stocks and bonds and do all that kind of stuff to get. It's the natural outworking of spiritually living. It's easy and natural when we let it flow. I'm going to share with you a story that happened yesterday. We had a poverty simulation at Covenant Presbyterian Church, and you were given only so much money, and you had to try to experience what it's like to be poor. I cheated. I'm a minister. I can do it. I tithed first, and I ended up with more money than I was supposed to at the end of the simulation. But I gave it all away. I put myself in the flow of abundance. But you can put yourself in the flow of abundant life, of abundant health, of abundant joy, of abundant peace. Whatever you get yourself in the flow of is what you have more of in your life. It's because it's a self-feeding energetic cycle. If you want peace, become more peaceful. You know, I want peace in the world. Oh, you cut me off. I'm going to give you a sign. We don't do that. We live from a consciousness of abundance. And it encompasses all areas of life, of health, of relationships, of creativity. And it's about living with an open mind and an open heart, trusting in the flow of life, knowing that the universe is always conspiring for our highest good. There's two mindsets, especially in the Western world, that either the universe is out to get us, and we're waiting for the next bad thing to happen, the next shoe to drop, or else the universe is conspiring for our highest good. And you know what? The universe responds to however you think. If you're looking for the next bad thing to happen, you will find the next bad thing, and it will happen. If you're looking for the next blessing, the next opportunity to serve, the next opportunity to grow, you will find the next opportunity to do those things. So ultimately, we are working to shift not only our own personal mindsets, but the mindset of the collective consciousness, hi there, to a place of gratitude, of visualization, which is not just about increasing our own personal good, but increasing the good of every human being. Ultimately, living abundantly is being in harmony with the universal laws of giving and receiving. So to conclude, by honoring many paths, committing ourselves to ongoing learning and education, engaging in prayer, participating in sacred service, and embracing abundant living, we create a vibrant and dynamic environment for spiritual growths. And these 5 pillars that we use to build on are not isolated concepts, but interwoven practices that support and enhance one another. Together, they form the holistic approach to a spiritually centered life, allowing us to transform ourselves and the world as a whole. So as we embody these principles, we inspire not only our own spiritual growth, but the growth of all whom we encounter, creating a world where love, peace, and abundance prevail for all. Namaste.